My father married his wife when I was 12, 4 years after my mom passed away. My father's wife had a toddler daughter who was diagnosed with a form of cancer that's tricky to treat a year into their marriage. She underwent chemo, but the treatment didn't work. They were told about this alternative treatment that wasn't offered in any local hospital, which would require staying somewhere else for at least 3 months with her. Their treatment itself was also expensive. My father was never really wealthy, neither was his wife, and her daughter's father and his family were not in her life. There was only one thing that was easily sold and would make enough money to get started on the journey, and that was my mom's engagement ring. It was left to me in her will, and it was mine. Before my mom, it was her mother's and grandmother's ring. My great-grandparents helped someone out, and it was a gift that was then passed down because of its value. It was extra sentimental because my grandma was in a nursing home with dementia at the time, and I had no other living maternal family left. My father decided that it could be sold to pay for the treatment. I said no, and I begged him not to. He and his wife told me her daughter's life was more important and that it would be selfish to keep a ring and let her die. I told my father I would never forgive him if he sold the ring and that he was stealing from me because it was mine. He went ahead and sold it for $14,000 anyway, and I stayed true to my word. I never forgave them. I moved out in March before turning 18 and cut them out of my life. I still hate the two of them and want nothing more to do with them again. My father tried to stay in my life, but I told him I hoped he knew he had lost his daughter, me, and that I wished it had been him to die instead of my mom. His wife's daughter's cancer returned, and now they want the money that my dad saved for me before he married her. It's not a lot of money at all, but they still have lingering stuff from when she was sick. I told him I would not give him the money, and the fact that he would ask for it showed that he didn't give a crap about me. His wife told me that it wasn't about me. It was about saving her daughter's life, and me being hung up on losing a ring that went on to save the life of a child. I told her that the ring meant more to me than they did, and that I would not give them any money. So they needed to leave me alone and figure out another plan. The ring was worth more than the money they got because it was an antique. It's $2,000 I have that he saved for me before meeting his wife. My father's parents got involved and I ended up deleting most of my social media and ignoring them. But then I saw my father's wife while I was grabbing groceries, and she told me I was evil and sick and twisted, and I should be ashamed of myself. I don't know if it's all just wearing me down or what, but I feel like I need to ask, am I the idiot? Part of me also thinks that because I'd give that money to a friend down on their luck, or if someone I cared about needed the money, I might be an idiot for saying no to my dad's new family. Not the idiot. Stepmom is evil and twisted for stealing a ring from a child's dead mother. Tell her she's lucky you didn't file a police report against your dad for stealing and selling your maternal heirloom while grandma was in a nursing home. I would still sue about the ring. OP, give them the money and go 100% no contact. You can never get the ring back, and taking them to court, while it may sound like something that might feel good, but ends up ringing hollow because they're just trying to save a life, which, in their opinion, is much more valuable than an object. Sadly, a family had to be ripped apart over money and a ring, but it is what it is. I'm not buying your parents' story at all. A single engagement ring paid for an entire experimental surgery, and the little bit you have in savings will pay for another one? I think your parents are using her illness to squeeze resources from everyone they know. And honestly, it's your money. They could start a GoFundMe, host a fundraiser, appeal to the insurance company, ask your parents, take out a second mortgage or get a signature loan, etc. There's no reason why you and your resources are their only singular route to cure your stepsister's cancer. Update. After some thinking and reading a lot of comments, I've decided that they can have the money, and I'm going to make it clear that I never want to hear from any of them again. If nothing else, I need him to do that much. So the relationship is done, but the money can be theirs. I have a nearly adult daughter, Cass, with my ex, and a preteen son, Mark, with my wife. Cass lives with my ex and is long distance. Ex moved, and I only see her once every other month. Mark lives with my wife and me full time. I will admit that I struggle with guilt when it comes to Cass because of the distance. So when Cass wants something, I try to do all I can to make it happen. Cass is also extremely sensitive, so I have to handle her very carefully so as not to upset her. Mark, on the other hand, is more out there and will try to argue back, and I tend to be a bit harder on him because he's got a stronger personality. About a month ago, Cass called saying she broke her brand new iPhone I'd given her as an early birthday present and asked me to pay to get it fixed for her. Since I rarely have the opportunity to do stuff for Cass, I said yes, sent her the money, and reassured her that I'm not mad. It was an accident, but please be more careful with her devices. A week later, Mark broke the iPad he's had for over 2 years. Mark is rough on his stuff and a bit on the clumsy side. I told Mark it was his fault for not paying more attention, and it's going to be a while until his iPad is fixed, and the money will come out of his allowance, and I hope it teaches him to be more responsible. Mark started arguing with me, and I grounded him for 2 weeks, but only followed through on the first week. Now my wife is mad at me, saying the way I reacted to Mark was unfair compared to the way I responded to Cass, that I was forgiving and understanding to my daughter, who's older, but not my son, who's much younger. I tried to explain it as I don't see Cass as much or get a chance to do as much for her, so anytime I can, I'm going to. I see and do stuff with Mark every day, so it's a different situation, and I handle each as needed. My wife still insists I dropped the ball in the way I dealt with Mark, and says that I should have treated him the same way I did Cass, and brought up the fact that Cass broke her brand new iPhone only a month after getting it, while Mark had his iPad over 2 years before anything went wrong. Edit. Cass's phone was broken when she asked her friend to toss it to her, and she accidentally dropped her phone while trying to catch it. Mark wore out the charge port on his iPad, possibly due to mishandling it. Mark also has motor skill delays. You are the idiot and a terrible father to both of your children. I feel so bad for Mark. He did nothing wrong. His iPad of 2 years had a normal wear and tear issue, and he was punished for it. As he gets older, he's going to feel the favoritism, and he's going to lash out more and more for it. You'll blame him, even though it's your fault. If he's smart, he'll cut you off, and you'll then wonder why. And what's worse, your children will never be able to really be siblings. You've spoiled your daughter through your lack of parenting and created a monster who easily manipulates you. Your little son broke an iPad after 2 years of use, and you punished him. Your wife is dead right about the double standard. Do you even like your son? Because when you describe Cass, there's already an apologetically sympathetic tone. Distance, guilt, sensitivity. If she needs money, you're ready to throw it to her. Then with Mark, you describe him as argumentative, stronger personality, and clumsy. The charging port on the iPad had an issue, so automatically you jump to blame him without thinking. Be real with yourself. Because of your guilt, you put Cass on a pedestal, and Mark can do no right because you see him every day, so his flaws are more apparent. This is going to drive huge wedges between Cass and Mark, if the distance hasn't already, and Mark and yourself. He can see your favoritism toward her. Be a better dad to Mark. He deserves an apology, at the very least. My mother-in-law, who's usually very sweet and nice, asked me to try on her wedding dress as she wanted to gift it to me for the wedding. I didn't want to hurt her, so I tried on the dress even though I knew I wanted to buy my own dress. It fit quite well and it looked pretty, but not what I was looking for at all. So I thanked my mother-in-law for the opportunity and the gesture, but that it wasn't what I envisioned myself wearing on my wedding day. But she was welcome to join my mom and me the next day when we were looking for wedding dresses. She joined us, and I thought everything was fine. But during the shopping, she tried to make me try on dresses similar to her wedding dress, but more my style. I tried 2 of her picks, but stated that it still wasn't what I was looking for, even though I liked it a little better on me than her dress, and I thanked her for helping me. She got quiet and only shrugged her shoulders over the other dresses I tried on. So I finally found my dream dress, bought it. I paid about 2,000 euros, and my parents paid about 300 euros for shoes and a veil. My in-laws didn't pay anything for the dress or the wedding, and then we went to eat lunch together. Mother-in-law was still unusually quiet, so I asked what was wrong and if I could help her. She shrugged her shoulders and said, "It's fine." And I thought she needed a little time for herself. So I started a conversation with my mom and started eating after we all got our food. We didn't exclude her and tried to make her part of our conversation, but she just shrugged and moped. A few minutes into lunch, she said, "You are an ungrateful, spoiled brat." And I was utterly confused and asked, "Why?" That's what she said. "I would have gifted you my dress, but it wasn't good enough for little miss, I want a new dress." That's ungrateful. And I tried to find a compromise with a dress that matched our taste in a dress, and you still denied all that. You're so ungrateful and impolite, not even able to make a compromise. Then she stood up, paid for her meal, and left without me being able to say anything. I asked my fiance later that day, and he told me not to worry as I did nothing wrong. But sister-in-law texted me that I was an ungrateful idiot for hurting her mother this much and not compromising on anything. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Why the heck would you compromise? You're not her kid who might like the history behind it, and every bride wants to feel special in their wedding dress. This is your future, by the way. She won't get any better as time goes on. She's obviously sentimental about her dress, and she expects you not to be sentimental about yours? Total hypocrisy. Everyone who hasn't lived under a rock knows that brides typically like to pick out their own dresses, regardless of if it was a borrowed one or a new one. I'd wager that she didn't do this with sister-in-law, saw that someone said how sweet it was on social media, then decided as her do-over daughter, you were going to do it whether you wanted to or not. Be very careful. Some mothers-in-law lose it during weddings and during babies and other important events. Be very careful to lock the dress up so that it doesn't accidentally get ruined. If you are inclined to be nice, you can offer to have a bit of the lace or beading cut from her dress and add it to her handkerchief for the ring bearer's pillow so that a part of her dress is in there. You mentioned a sister-in-law. Why can't mother-in-law gift it to her? Why is it so important to her that you wear this dress? I'm glad your fiancé said you did nothing wrong, but I hope he's doing more to quell your sister-in-law and mother-in-law. I hope it works out. Toxic people at weddings are no fun. My mother was toxic planning ours, and my best man's wife was so toxic during our wedding that my best man had to leave because she was making such a scene. Set them straight before your big day. Update. Am I the idiot for not wearing my mother-in-law's wedding dress and not compromising? My sister-in-law is 10 years older, single, and I don't believe that will change due to her attitude, and she's too big for the dress. The dress is a size 36. Sister-in-law is a 44. My fiancé already talked to his mother 3 or 4 days ago. My mother-in-law called me just a few minutes ago to apologize. To me, it sounded sincere. She told me that she was disappointed that day because she wanted to be a part of all that on my wedding day, and she didn't know how to ask since my parents had already said they paid for my veil and shoes. And she knew that I don't wear jewelry except for my engagement ring and a necklace my fiancé gifted me 8 years ago. So she couldn't give me something like this. And she didn't want to gift me a garter since she thought it inappropriate to gift her daughter-in-law that. And that she was hurt after trying to give input on my dress and was rejected. She apologized again and then asked to treat my mom and me to lunch tomorrow as an apology for her behavior, and that she wants to offer, if I'm up for it, that she pays for my bridal bouquet. So tomorrow we're going out to lunch, and after that to a florist so I can show her the flowers that I like and the idea that I have for my bouquet. I thank you all. My wife and I have 5 kids. Elise, nearly adult, Michael, teen, and little ones, Andrew, Rachel, and Lily. I must go on at least 2 to 3 business trips a month. So if I'm going somewhere for one day or a weekend, I invite Elise. I do this because Elise only has 3 classes, and her school allows you to do everything online. Plus, she's the only kid I trust to be alone in a hotel or wander around the city, depending on the area. I've been doing this since she was 15, although back then the rule was that she couldn't leave the hotel unsupervised. She'd gone to New York, Miami, Orlando, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Houston, New Orleans, Seattle, and Boston, and she's even gone to Hawaii and Mexico for a week during the summer. I took Michael to Vegas with us in June to see how he did, and Elise said it felt like she was babysitting the entire time, yet he still managed to get into trouble. He tried to sneak into casinos, tried to buy alcohol, tried to get other people to buy it for him, and didn't do any of his summer schoolwork. So I told him we'll try again when he's older, but he can't travel with us for now. Elise and I are going to Europe for 3 weeks. This is the first time I've let her miss this much school, but I think the experience will be great for her. Plus, she knows she has to do all of her schoolwork before leaving the hotel, so she won't be behind when she goes back to school. Michael asked if he could go with us, but I refused. The last time I took him anywhere, he refused to do his work and broke almost every rule that I gave him. I don't trust him on another weekend trip close to our house, never mind halfway across the world for close to a month. He accused me of playing favorites because Elise always gets to go on fun outings, but it's because she's never broken my trust. She always does her homework before going out, and she doesn't go crazy with my credit card. I'm going away for a weekend again, and my wife wants me to try again and see if he's responsible enough to go. But a weekend trip is nothing like 3 weeks in another country. He's just not old enough for this kind of trip. My son thinks I'm playing favorites, and my wife thinks I need to give him another chance. So I wanted to get an outside opinion. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Michael has proven that he isn't trustworthy while you go on these business trips. That isn't favoritism, that's parenting. He tried to sneak into the casino, underage drinking, refusing to do agreed upon schoolwork. He's not ready for a trip of this length. Your wife is the one playing favorites. He's younger and he's proven untrustworthy on the first trip you brought him on, whereas his daughter's filled all the rules laid out. Also, he's on a work trip, not a pleasure trip. The kids are left to their own devices while dad works, and he can't be trusted. Having to take care of him and clean up his messes means dad can't focus on work. Having Michael there could mess up his job. Elise can be trusted alone to get on with herself. That's why she gets to go. Perhaps your son can earn a second chance, but that should be on a significantly shorter trip and one with a destination that's closer to home. Taking him on a 3-week European trip after how he behaved on his first trip is just asking for a complete and utter disaster. You are the idiot. There is zero need to bring your daughter on every business trip you go on. If you keep it up, your son and other children will definitely resent you for it, especially if you don't still have this job in the future and they don't get to go on all these trips. Also, even though your son got caught, I can assure you, your daughter most likely isn't the innocent girl you think she is. She most likely hides it better. My brother recently got engaged. Although I'm close to him, I don't know his fiancée very well since I live in another state. I've probably met her about 10 times, give or take, and each time has been fine, cordial and friendly, but I'm not calling her just to chit-chat. I was happy to receive an invitation to their engagement party. After accepting, I received a package in the mail from my sister-in-law. It was an outfit, sweater, jeans, shoes, and jacket from a fast fashion brand that looked pretty cobbled together. She left the price tags on them, which were all discounted. I texted her asking her what the package was for, and she told me it was for me to wear to the party so I wouldn't upstage her. I asked her if the other attendees received outfits, and she said no. I then asked her if I ever made her feel uncomfortable, because why else would she do this? And she said no, but just wanted to make sure that I didn't look better than her. The whole thing didn't sit right with me, and I told her that I wasn't comfortable being the only person wearing this random outfit. It didn't even fit me well, and I asked if I could maybe send her a photo of my outfit first for approval, or buy something myself that she liked. It was all no, no, no. So the day of, I decided to just go with a similar outfit that she picked. But in my clothing, i.e. she sent me a blue sweater, so I wore a similar colored sweater but from my own collection. I ensured that I had no visible logos, and I didn't bring one of my designer bags, opting for a simpler tote. When she saw me, she was livid, to the point that she took me to the kitchen to ream me out. I told her she was being unreasonable, but she told me that because she's the bride, nothing could ever be unreasonable because it was her special day, and her way or the highway. So I decided to leave because I clearly wasn't welcome and she couldn't be reasoned with. But on my way out, she threw her iced coffee at me, ruining my sweater. I had originally promised my brother a $15,000 check as a wedding gift, but now told him that unless his fiancée apologized and paid for a new sweater, $100, then I wouldn't be attending their wedding, nor giving them the check. They're currently fighting. Some family members were on my side, while others called me an idiot for not just wearing the random outfit to make the bride happy. It's turning into a huge thing. So I'm wondering if I'm the idiot for the whole thing. I know I could have set out the event, but I wanted to be there for my brother. Am I the idiot? Honestly, I wouldn't even take the apology. If she does apologize, I wouldn't trust it for a minute. She would just be doing it for your money. $15,000? You sound incredibly generous and kind. His soon-to-be wife sounds like a nightmare. I'd just say to your brother that clearly you're not welcome by how you were treated. You won't be attending, and there'll be no gift. End of story. I couldn't agree more. She singled you out and treated you appallingly. Sending you that crappy outfit, and only you, was disgusting. Throwing coffee at you was also disgusting. Tell your brother you can't go to the wedding. Don't give them a gift. She deserves nothing. The soon-to-be wife's actions would be a major red flag if I was your brother. Who the heck does that kind of thing? And this is only the engagement party? Imagine what she'll be like on the wedding day. This, and a $100 sweater, isn't even super high-end. Sure, it's not a $5 sweater from Walmart, but it's not like OP went out of her way to put together a super expensive outfit to outshine the bride. Seriously, when did the world get this utterly insane? Dictating people's outfits? Throwing drinks at them? Oh, heck no. There's no coming back from that. That's their true colors right there, and they're bone-deep ugly. You do realize an apology at this point is not going to be genuine, and it's only going to be a money grab. $15K is enough for most to swallow their pride and fake it for one brief moment. You're not going to get the money for the sweater, but a $100 loss is so much better than a $15,000 loss. She's not just a bridezilla, she's a jealous, unhinged idiot. Please save the $15K for your brother's next wedding. I, 22 female, have a baby son called Rue with my boyfriend Sean, 23. I'm North African and Sean is Asian. Our son happens to look like a carbon copy of him. We joke that my genes weren't used at all in our baby's creation, so I'm aware that he doesn't look like he's mine. I was picking up a few things at the grocery store when this woman came up and started a conversation with me. She asked about Rue, his age, his name, and things like that. Then she asked how long I'd been nannying for his parents. I assumed she initially thought that because I'm kinda young, and I know most people don't have kids as early as I did, so I told her that I was his mother. She sort of frowned and looked between my baby and me before saying, "But he's Asian." She said the word Asian in a really weird tone, like she didn't like saying it. The mature thing probably would have been to tell her that he's Asian because his dad is Asian, and biracial people do, in fact, exist. But instead, I just gasped dramatically and went, "Oh my God, are you serious?" I picked Rue up and held him at eye level while asking how he could pull the long con on me and hide his true identity for so long. He giggled, which made me laugh, and the lady looked bright red and very annoyed because people were looking at us. She told me that she was just surprised because he doesn't look anything like me, and I replied that I was surprised too, obviously because today was the first day I ever took in any of his ethnic features. She then said that I could have just answered the question she was asking instead of making a public scene. She walked off, still angry, but I just finished getting what we needed and left. I was telling my mom about it because she called when I got back to the house, and she also thinks I should have just informed the woman that my son's father is Asian instead of acting like a fool in the middle of the produce section. Maybe it was a bit of a jerk move to do it the way I did. But I mean, if I tell you the kid is mine and you think the kid doesn't look like me, wouldn't the next best conclusion be that they look like their other parent? I just want outside opinions on if I was being an idiot about this. Not the idiot. You handled this brilliantly, And Ruth's giggle was the cherry on top. I bet that woman thinks twice before asking intrusive personal questions again. When my nephew was born, he had some issues with his spine that resulted in him wearing a brace from the top of his head to his hips for a couple of years. Lots of people would ask, why? When my sister-in-law was just not in the mood to deal with nosy people, she'd look them in the eye and say, deadpan, well, we won't let his dad change his diapers anymore. And then she'd walk off. So not every question asked has to be answered. She set the tone, my friend. You just followed her lead. You had already told her that you were Rue's mother, and she still looked at you, opened her mouth, and let absolute nonsense come out. So it only stands to reason that you'd respond in kind. I'm old enough to be your mom, and I have to tell you, as an auntie of 5 kids, literally none of whom look like their mother, and most of them look very little like each other, my sister just looks at the lovely little rainbow of humans that all came out of her body and shakes her head and laughs. I think you were hilarious, but more importantly, I think you reminded her of something crucial. We don't comment on other people's bodies, or their ethnicities, or their perceived parentage. It's rude, it's inappropriate, and it could hurt someone. I teach people that our curiosity does not entitle us to personal information about strangers. That woman started off friendly, but she overstepped, and she deserved to be embarrassed for it. Good for you for reminding her that making comments about people is not harmless. It has repercussions. You are not the idiot, but more than that, you're smart and funny, and you think on your feet. You're wonderful. I, 27, have been with my girlfriend, 25, for 3 years. She's absolutely wonderful in every aspect, aside from when it comes to getting her gifts. She always snoops until she finds out what I or her friends and family got for her. It's very frustrating because I put a lot of thought into her gifts, and I'm always excited to see her reaction, but I can tell she's just pretending to be surprised. This year, I made her promise not to go snooping for her gift, or else I would get her something small. She promised, and I went all out. She's very into makeup, but has it all on a small coffee table with a hand mirror. I wanted to get her a bigger space to work, so I found a pretty pricey vanity with a mirror built into it. It wasn't breaking the bank, but it was definitely more than anything I'd ever gotten for her before. I ordered it a few weeks ago. Last week, I caught her listing the table for sale and asked her what that was about. She said that she wouldn't need it for much longer, and I immediately knew she was snooping. I was so angry I canceled her gift. It was supposed to arrive yesterday. I suppose she saw that when she was snooping too, because when no package came, she asked me about it. I told her what I had done. She blew up, called me selfish, and told me to get out of my house. She's never acted like this before, and I was very taken aback. She said she's just curious by nature, and she has anxiety about what gifts she's getting and needs to know. She does have problems with anxiety, so I understand where she's coming from. Did I overreact? Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You warned her, but she chose to press forward, play stupid games and win stupid prizes, or in this case, lose the prize entirely. She needs to grow up. However, this is bugging me. Change all your passwords in your phone code. Have your phone checked for tracking bugs. Same for your computer. I'm suddenly thinking this could be more serious than snooping presents alone. What else is she snooping into and can't keep herself out of? I have a feeling this goes way beyond snooping, only at every gift-giving occasion. Hopefully I'm wrong, but if not, yeah, I'd take the advice above and protect yourself. Dude, she's apparently looking into your phone, emails, etc. Break up with her. This is the real problem. Also, sounds like she's an absolute child by yelling at you to get out of your own home over this. She doesn't deserve the something small, except for maybe the empty space now left by her own decisions. I am a 35-year-old male, and my sister is 30. My kids are a pre-tween and 2 years younger, and hers are a tween and younger child. This year, we hosted Christmas dinner. I adore my sister, and I adore my niece and nephew. They're good kids. We spend a lot of time together, and our kids love playing together. However, her kids have this habit of digging into the food that's being served without it being on their plates. For example, Once when we visited, my sister made mashed potatoes, and both kids dipped their fingers in the pot, licked them, dipped them again, etc. My kids never did this in their life. I don't have a problem with that. Her house, her rules. My wife and kids hate it though. So we were settling down at dinner, and almost all the guests had arrived. We had some light drinks, and my wife and I brought out the first course, which consisted of multiple things like cheese, grapes, ham, steamed veggies, meatballs, etc. on big platters, so our guests could serve themselves with whatever they liked. As per usual, kids started going around the table to pick stuff from the platters. We laughed and cheered as they played around until I noticed that my niece and nephew grabbed something, took a bite, and put it back. My wife noticed it, so she went discreetly around to get the stuff they bit out of. I pulled my sister aside and told her to please tell her kids to stop doing that. In comes the next meal, which was a light soup with sour cream. My niece and nephew grabbed the ladle and licked it when my wife put the serving bowl down. We laughed nervously, and my wife replaced the bowl and soup. Again, I told my sister to speak to her kids about it. Before the main course was served, my wife and I decided to just plate everything ourselves for each guest, which was a lot of work, but worth it. Again, niece and nephew immediately got up and started dipping their fingers in random plates. At this point, my wife got a bit angry and told them aloud to wait patiently for their plates. Sister got irked. Guests started to get uncomfortable. Sis said, "They're just kids." After an hour or so, we got out some chocolate cake. My niece and nephew literally put their hands in it before my wife got a chance to cut it. I saw her eyes start to get watery out of frustration, and she blew up and yelled at my sister for not disciplining her kids and making everyone uncomfortable. My sister and brother-in-law got up and left. Several guests said that they found this gross, but Mom and Dad said I could have spoken to my sister privately. Now I feel like an idiot. Not the idiot. You went to their mom privately multiple times, and nothing was done. It was upsetting your guest and your wife, and these kids are definitely old enough to restrain themselves around company, especially if they are at someone else's house. These kids are old enough to know not to do that. Those kids are doing it on purpose. Touching every individual plated dish is not a lack of impulse control or manners. It's a deliberate act because they know it's gross, and they want to make everyone feel gross. Like, oh, look what we got away with. It's nasty, and your sister needs a serious wake-up call. Agree, and sister is a terrible parent, doing a lousy job of socializing her kids. It's cold and flu season. We're all barely a year or two removed from a worldwide health emergency, and sister lets the kids finger and lick the food being served? Jeebus. Parents are off base in the hope of not rocking the boat, at best, and shameless enablers at worst. Can't imagine a private conversation going anywhere. Good riddance to both. Consider this when inviting folks to future gatherings. I, 32 female, have a serious health issue from a snowboarding injury. I need surgery for it, but due to the healthcare system, I've been waiting for years and it's been getting worse. One of my best friends was supposed to be married in 2020, but due to the global issue, she had to push it back to 2022. So at that point, I could still walk, and she wanted to have it at a national park. The walk is about 2 kilometers uphill to a waterfall and lake. The walk has roots, so I can't ride a wheelchair there. So it's been over 2 years, and I told her a few months ago I probably can't make the walk. So we brainstormed some other solutions, but in the end, it doesn't look like there's an easy way for me to attend. There was a guy friend coming that could help carry me, but he moved countries and decided not to. She apologized but said it was her dream to get married at that waterfall, and I said I understood, but was definitely not happy about it since we've been friends for years and I expected to attend. I did say to a mutual friend I wasn't happy with her choice of wedding venue, and I wish she valued me enough to change it so I could go. I know when she made the plans, I confirmed I could go, but I think she should be able to change plans since time has passed. That friend I was offloaded to the bridesmaid, and people took sides. Some contacted the bride and told her to change the venue because they felt like I should be allowed to attend, and others said it was planned for and I shouldn't expect it to change for me. I didn't realize how bad it got until the bride came back and accused me of trying to ruin her wedding. I said I just told a friend what I thought, and I didn't go any further. And she called me selfish and told me it was her wedding, and the global issue wasn't her fault, so she couldn't control that in the time I'd gotten worse. I told her she couldn't, but if she had any compassion for me, she'd change it to somewhere I could go to. And she hung up on me. She then canceled the wedding completely, but I heard she eloped and married her fiancé with only half the bridesmaids and her parents present. The ones who defended me and argued with her said she cut them out of the wedding and has stopped talking to them. I feel really bad now because I didn't actually want to go to the wedding badly enough to lose her as a friend, but I didn't think she would cut us all off as a result. I don't know if I should contact her or what to say, or if I'm even in the wrong in this. You are the idiot. You didn't want to go badly enough to lose her as a friend, but just enough for her to change her dream venue for you? It was her wedding. Instead of gossiping, you should have been sending a congratulatory card with some cash. You and everyone else who didn't pick the bride's side are all idiots. It is her wedding, and it has nothing to do with you, so you don't get to ask her or guilt trip her to make changes because of an unfortunate situation you've had to endure. I understand venting to a friend and them sharing your views with the bride was not your fault. However, when she called you, trying to tell her she needed to have compassion for you is what pushed it over the line, I believe. I would have checked to see if I could attend via Zoom. If not, I would invite them for a celebratory dinner or something on a different date. Ask to see pictures, videos, etc. I would try my best to be there for them for their wedding. If it has to do with issues on my end, I should take the burden, not them. Never in my wildest dreams would I even try to dictate where someone else has their wedding.